Hey there, welcome back. It's James here, and in this video we're going to pick up where we left off. We were talking about variables, and in the last video we were talking about naming variables. So what I wanted to do in this video was talk a little bit more about some of the things that you can do with variables. And this can get pretty complex because there is a lot you can do with variables. But at this point in the course, I want to stick to some of the simpler ideas just so you can kind of get a feel for, some of the things you might be doing with these in the future. So I'm going to go ahead and delete all of this code, and we're going to start with a blank slate here. And I'm going to create just a couple of variables. The first variable that I'm going to create is going to be number 1. And we'll just assign this a value. We'll assign it the value of 10. And then I'm going to create a second variable, number 2. I'm going to assign this a value of 20. And then I'm going to create a third variable, number 3. I'm going to assign this a value of 30, just random numbers. Okay. What we can do with this, for example, is we can use this to do actual mathematical calculations. So for example, if I wanted to say, let's do this. Answer, which is a whole other variable, equals number 1 plus number 2. That's a completely valid code. And what's going to happen is the computer is going to take the value of number 1, whatever that is, in this case it's 10, and it's going to add in the value of number 2, in this case it's 20, and we should get an answer of 30. Now if I run this, nothing's going to happen, at least nothing we can see, because I haven't actually told it to print anything to the console. So what I'll do now is type print, and I'll put answer, and we'll hit run. And you can see it does indeed print 30. So yes, we can actually add variables together. We can obviously do all types of mathematical operations. We can multiply and divide and subtract, right? That's all really, really basic stuff. We can also reassign values to our variables. So what I'm going to do is put this back to number 1 times number 2, and we'll print the answer. Of course, we know it's going to be 200. And then down here, I'm going to actually change number 1. I'm going to change it to 1. And now I'm going to print answer and ask yourself what you think is going to happen. Now I've changed the value of the variable. So will the answer be different? Yes or no? What do you think? The answer is no, it's not different. Why? Because we are still printing answer, and the variable answer was figured back here. This is where we figured what that, the value stored there was figured here, but we didn't change the value of number 1 until line 9. So this code had already been ran. Now on the flip side, if I take this and I'm just going to copy it and I'm going to paste it below this, we're going to get a different output. When I run it, we're going to get 200 the first time the answer is printed, because at this point, number 1 is worth 10, and number 2 is equal to 20, so 10 times 20 is 200. Now we've changed number 1, and it's worth 1. So when we say answer equals number 1 times number 2, what we're actually saying is answer equals 1 times 20, which of course is 20. It's kind of a mouthful to say that, but in reality, what's happening is very, very simple, okay? Or if I did that, but the very next line I said answer equals 0, what do you think this is going to print when it prints answer the second time? Of course, it prints 200 up here. It figures answer again here, but it immediately reassigns the value of 0 to answer. And so when we print answer, of course, we're going to get 0. That's what's really great about variables, is their values can change. They can change all the time. And something we can do with variables that's a little bit more, I wouldn't say advanced, but a little bit more advanced than what we're doing right now, is we can actually start taking user input into those variables. So for example, I could say name equals input, what is your name? Print name. Now, what do you think it's going to print if I hit run? Is it going to print this whole line here? No, what's actually going to happen when I run this program, the computer is going to ask the user for their name. Watch, run. What is your name? And whatever I type here, it's going to store it, the variable name, and then it's going to print it because I told it to. So let's go ahead and press enter. And you can see it printed James. In fact, we can make this a bit more descriptive. Hello plus name. All right, and we'll get into what I'm doing with all this in later videos. But let's run it again. What is your name? Let's say my name is Bob. Hello, Bob. So as you can see, variables really are the building blocks of the Python programming language. And in fact, they're the building blocks of pretty much any programming language that I'm aware of. I'm sure there's probably some, languages out there that work a little bit differently, but not ones that I'm personally familiar with. So, when it comes to Python, Java, JavaScript, C#, most of these languages here are going to work with variables. One key difference, and I'll point this out, even though it's not that important to know it when you're starting out, one key difference that makes Python even easier is you don't actually have to declare your variables beforehand. Meaning, I don't have to actually go up here and say, this is a variable. I can literally just start typing a variable name and then assign a value. And that's quite a bit different from a lot of programming languages. A lot of languages, you have to actually tell it that you're going to be creating a variable, and you have to tell it what kind of variable you're creating. For example, is it a string? Is it an integer? Is it a float, etc., etc.? We'll talk more about those things. They're called data types in following videos as well. But for right now, look, it's giving me an error because we don't need that. But for right now, this is where I want to go ahead and wrap this video up. Again, let's keep everything bite-sized and make it easy to digest. As always, if you like this video, be sure and give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for more content, and don't forget to leave me a comment if you have any questions or feedback on the channel. This is James with LearnToCode.cc, and I'll see you in the next video.